In today's day and age, time zones feel effortless. Our phones literally update automatically as our flights cross continents overnight. And as for watches, GMT has become just another line of text on a dial. But there was a time not that long ago when traversing time zones could pose a major problem. And the solution? One extra hand. Today I want to talk about the story of the GMT. Not as a spec, not as a luxury feature, but as a response to a world that was suddenly moving faster than watches were designed for. Before the 1950s, most people lived their entire lives in one time zone, and watches reflected that reality. But after World War II, commercial aviation exploded. Aircraft ranges increased, routes started stretching across oceans, and pilots found themselves traversing multiple time zones in a single flight. Suddenly, knowing what time it was simply wasn't enough. Pilots needed to know where exactly that time was. They needed local time, they needed home time, and really they needed both at a glance. Now, the first real answer didn't involve a second time zone at all. It involved eliminating confusion. In 1953, the Glycine Airman was introduced. Instead of the traditional 12-hour dial, it used a 24-hour display. The hour hand made one full rotation per day. No AM, no PM, just continuous time, perfectly suited for aviation and military use. It worked, and pilots loved it. But it did come with a limitation. You had to choose which time zone you wanted to be in. You could be in local time, you could be in your home time, but you couldn't be in both. In the early 1950s, Pan American World Airways, the most powerful international airline of its time, approached Rolex with a very specific request. They didn't want a 24-hour watch. They wanted a watch that could track two time zones, mechanically, intuitively, and reliably. Rolex's answer came in 1954 in the form of the GMT-Master. The solution was elegant, a fourth hand rotating once every 24 hours paired with a 24-hour bezel. All of a sudden, pilots could read the local time from the main hands and their home time from the GMT hand. No math, no stopping the watch, no compromise. And then came the detail that turned the GMT into something even greater, the rotating 24-hour bezel. Now, by turning it, Wearers could track a third time zone, something that wasn't even in the original brief. Now, this is where the GMT stops being just a pilot's tool and becomes a system unto itself. Design followed function. High contrast bezels, bold numerals, and clear separation between day and night. By the 1960s, GMT watches weren't just in cockpits anymore. They could now be found on the wrists of journalists, diplomats, and even international businessmen. As travel became normal, expectations changed. Early GMT watches required you to stop the watch completely in order to change time zones, which was fine for pilots, but for frequent travelers it wasn't ideal. So movements evolved. By the late 20th century, true GMT watches emerged, allowing the local hour hand time to jump independently while the GMT hand stayed locked to home time. Now, this subtle change transformed usability, and it created a distinction that collectors love to debate to this day. Caller GMTs versus flyer or true GMTs. It's a small mechanical difference, but it does define how it feels to live with a GMT. Now, by the 1990s and the early 2000s, something interesting happened. We simply stopped needing GMT watches. Our phones took over. Computers synced automatically, but the GMT didn't disappear. It became symbolic. Brands leaned into history, and collectors began chasing vintage references. Colorways became emotional, not just functional. The GMT became less and less about efficiency and more about who you are and where you've been. The GMT exists because the world has changed and evolved. It's a reminder of the moment when human movement outpaced our tools and watchmakers had to respond creatively. Today, the GMT doesn't survive because of necessity. It survives because of what it represents: curiosity, mobility, and a mechanical solution to a very human problem. One extra hand, one rotating bezel, and suddenly the world fit on our wrists. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into watch history, give this video a like and feel free to drop a comment. Let me know which era of GMTs you enjoy the most. Until next time, peace.